We're going to start another episode of Geezers and Gurus on HVAC. I don't have a guest today, but we have a lot of things that have happened, and so this is going to be a lot of information on upcoming things and information on some things that I found out. I am getting ready to go down to South Carolina again to install some more of our Vulcan water devices. That's coming up in a couple of days, and we're still working on that one factory, and I'm going to have some pictures up on the next podcast and give you an idea of what that's all about. The Vulcan is really an amazing product. We just sold one to Grand Traverse Distillery up in northern Michigan for their brew room, where they actually make their wonderful vodkas and all of the other stuff that they do. They have been using our device for 8 years and have really noticed the difference. So that's the Vulcan. So the number will be on your screen here. Give them a call. We'll be happy to help you. That's part of it. Now, I have been watching and looking, and we're talking about, here we are, gasoline has gotten to be pretty scary here. And now we're all talking about, well, we're going to have all electric cars and everything else. That is the future. We are going to have electric cars. But let's talk about reality. Reality is, of every car manufacturer in the United States, domestic and foreign, started manufacturing all the domestic cars they could and are capable of producing, it would take in the neighborhood of 30 years for them to make enough cars to replace all the gasoline cars presently in use. So we have 30 years. In that time, if you are a reasonable thinking human being, you will know that the cars that they made 30 years before are already wearing out. So it is a possibility it could take up to 50 years to make enough electric cars to replace all of the gas vehicles we have. With that being said, and that's a real reality, let's talk about the other part of it. The amount of energy it's going to take to electrify these cars. With our present grid, take a look outside, folks. If you live in the city, there's wires everywhere. There's all kinds of things. We have power plants, we have solar, we have windmills, we have all kinds of things. All that we have today would only produce enough power for 25% of the electric cars that would be manufactured. So we have to take our electric grid system and add 75% more capacity to it. That's just for the cars. The other thing is that the wisdom people in the powers to be thinks we ought to have electrify our houses and heat with electricity. You will use 10 times or more the power we use for cars to heat and cool all of the buildings in this country. Where do you think we're going to get that power from? It's not going to be magically produced. We can do much, we're doing much better with efficiencies. So the equipment that we're making today even is very, very efficient, whether it's air conditioning or heat pump or even furnaces. So and here's another real reality. You get away from major cities and highways and stuff like that. Everyone in the northern parts of the United States and into Canada heat with oil. Canada is going through a real big deal right now where they want to get a gas line down every road so they can get as many homes on natural gas as humanly possible. And they've really made it tough on the oil business to, if there's any spills or anything, it's considered a hazardous waste. So they're trying to get rid of oil. Here in the United States, it would be nice to do that. Everybody says, yeah, Canada can do it, we can do it. You have to remember that there's 3 million more people living in the state of California than in the entire country of Canada. So when we're talking about numbers here, it's astronomical how many of them we have here in the United States that would have to be converted. Another thing is oil is not just used for heating homes. It's used in factories for production, whether it's boilers and some other things. So it's a complicated subject. So what am I saying? I'm saying is we are right now electrifying this country. But let's not be stupid. Natural gas is going to be extremely important as a gateway between really pollutant oil and very clean electricity. And we have to be also very careful how we produce the electricity. Right now, it would behoove us to do nuclear. Nuclear power is the cleanest power you can get, and the new power plants are even going to be better. They're going to outperform anything that we even thought of. Time marches on. People are a lot smarter. Everything that we do is a lot better. Nobody can say that the floppy disks that we used to use in our Apple computers back 30 years ago would never go out of style. Well, we know that our Apple smartphone is about 100 times smarter than the computer they put on the space shuttles. It's actually 1,500 times smarter, but that's beside the point. Point is that you can't go by what was said before. There was a point in time when solar panels weren't worth the time and effort to put them up, because by the time you paid for them, they wore out. It's not true anymore. We also say, oh, solar panels are this and that, and they're made in China, so we're supporting China. That's not true anymore either. I have been in touch with solar companies and guys who sell solar. One company in particular, the guy has 3 different manufacturers that they buy solar panels from. 2 of them are in the United States. 1 is overseas. So times are changing. We as Americans have a choice. We can pay $100 for a gallon of gas and be stupid about it, and that's not really going to help anyone, because when you take money out of the pool that you have just to survive, there isn't enough money left to make smart decisions like buying an electric car, because you'll never catch up on it. You never have enough money. The point I'm making is we should all be smart. We got to be better at, how shall I say, better at thinking about the energy and how we can do this. Everyone across this country can save energy in their dwelling spaces where they're at. But by saving energy, we also have discussed on this program before that you can make the house so tight and so energy efficient that you'll turn it into a death trap. So that has to be watched too. The other part of it is that most of the equipment that I see installed, especially when it comes to heating equipment, is too large. It's bigger than what it needs, the capacity. There's a real rethinking on how to heat and cool a home now. It's been altogether different than what it used to be in the past. And I agree with the new thinking, because air movement through the house all the time, that you can apply humidity and humidify it, and you can apply filtration and take out the particulate in there, and gases and odors and viruses and all the rest of stuff out of the air. You can change the air temperature by either absorbing the heat out of it and making it cooler, or by adding heat and making it warmer. That's basically the whole system, except for one other new part that has to be part of the system now, is a measured amount of air being brought in and out of your house so that you have good ventilation. With all of those things done properly, most homes in the United States, if they're insulated relatively well, would be very efficient. The problem is there are millions and millions of homes that are not brought up to standard. And I hear the government is saying, well, we're going to have a program for insulating your house again. With the new laws in most districts, we have laws that are energy laws, so insulation now on new builds is much better than it ever was. And we've been saying that since Jimmy Carter. That's when we started putting cellulose and other things into attics. I've done 3 or 4 of them myself in houses that I've lived in. So, or someone that I knew I helped out with. Point being is that's old hat. We have to go into, and they say, oh, well, let's talk about equipment. Right now, everybody knows we have equipment in the 80% efficiency rating, and we have equipment well into the high 90s in the efficiency rating. And why do we still have equipment in the 80s efficiency rating? Politics is all you can say. Money. Follow the money. The reason why we have it is it's apartment buildings or big apartment complexes where you have 400 or 500 units or whatever. If they have to change all of that equipment and put in 90% only, which is what they should do, and anything north of the Mason-Dixon line, it would cost them too much money. And they say that in some of these cases they couldn't get the venting to the outside. That's true. That's exactly true. It would cost them more money. But the equipment is better and it lasts longer. And it saves 20 to 25% energy over the less efficient equipment. And there are some in places that it really is nearly impossible or impossible to get the venting out because of the way the building is built. That should be the exception. I agree with that. So you put an 80% in because you can't get the 90 vented. But that should be the exception, not the rule. And the way it's written now is it's the rule for apartments don't have to. That's why we have them. That's why we have 80% efficient furnaces. If you're changing a furnace in your house and you're in the northern climates and you're not getting a 96 or 98% efficient furnace with a variable, you're wasting your money. You add on a lot of expense to heating and cooling your house if you don't go with the best equipment there. A lot of expense because your house is a matter of a couple degrees between comfort and discomfort. Okay? And humidity has a lot to do with that. The equipment being properly sized and running the way it should and adding only as much heat in there as have and humidity as necessary, you can control the temperature and humidity in your home to a comfort level that has never been able to be achieved before this. This is all available, readily available, can be installed by any contractor if he pays attention and if you pay attention. And it's important to do that because that's how America will lower its energy consumption by using the least amount of energy necessary to make your house comfortable, whether it's for cooling or whether it's for heating. Now that's part of the equipment phase. What about the systems? Again, we've had discussions, and these are coming up on programs that we are having, working on right now. I'm getting people signed up for new programs that will come on and talk about it. It's the systems. Forced air systems were originally developed in the late 1920s, and they've come a long way, obviously. We have used many different fuels. I remember one of the first forced air systems I saw was actually on a coal-fired furnace. So that goes back a bit. That was real strange. My dad was very heavily involved with the airflow systems that were through the 30s, 40s, and into the 50s. Those airflow systems changed and were discontinued for a couple of reasons. Almost all of them were improperly sized, and we'll go into that later. They were way oversized. You could never fill the system up with air to make it heat and cool, especially when the houses grew. Houses on average grew from 1,000 square foot houses to 2,000 square foot. Now we got 3 is common, and 10 to 15,000 is not unusual. That's ridiculous, but that's where the building thing has. So when you go from 1,000 square foot to 2,000 or 3,000, you change the whole dynamics. You're not even using one piece of equipment anymore. You're using multiple systems. And here's another thing too. All of this stuff is done on price, and it has to be put in efficiently so everybody makes money, and then it works. In certain areas of our country, the codes are much, how shall I say, enforced much heavier than in other places. And the enforcement of the code is really important because, and tough codes, because the contractor is bidding on this job. And so he looks at what's required for him to do this job, and he looks at the time and everything it takes. The tougher the codes, the more that's required. It's a safer job, usually a better job. Now, so long as it's a code and they're enforced, that means that when he bids a job, the other contractor is bidding against him, he's bidding the same thing. Because you're going to have an inspector come there and look at it and say, yeah, this is what we have to have, these 5 fingers are what you have to have, and all of them are the same. But if the inspectors are lackadaisical, this contractor wants to do a 5-finger one, and this contractor, unfortunately, is doing a single. And we know which finger that is. So who gets hurt in this whole thing? The customer gets hurt. It could be an unsafe job. So the inspectors have to inspect. The tougher the inspections, the better the codes, the better everything is. The better the job is. Usually it's put in better. If it's inspected, it should be insulated. It should be sealed. That is by law now. My father was sealing his duct systems in 1952. And I helped. That was one of my first jobs when I worked for him, was sealing the duct systems. Nobody did that. We'll talk about where that sealing of the duct system came from. It actually came from the gravity furnaces, and that was done for a real specific reason. Eventually, in these little things, we're going to go through and show you exactly how a gravity furnaces needs to be set up and what doesn't need to be done and what makes them not work. It seems like simple technology, but like a lot of things that are simple technology, even they have to be exact or they don't work. So, going on with this, we could have an opportunity, and we're going to bring forward this in the next couple of weeks. There should be some, when we're putting in heating and cooling systems, I am very, very disappointed that contractors today aren't really pricing out the air changers, because that's a real necessity in today's world, the way we're trying to make these houses tight. That's why they are a law for all new things. But over the years, if the house has been remodeled and been tightened up, it's not a law that you have to put one in on an existing house, only on a new one. So it's something that both contractors and homeowners need to be aware of, that if you're not getting a furnace put in, you don't have an air changer, you're not getting the whole job. And it skirts by the code. The code says, yeah, for new construction, because it's so tight, we have to. What about all you people out there that have been putting in insulation, new windows, caulking things up, sealing it, bond joists, all of the stuff that you're supposed to do, and taking and extending the vents, things from all your vents to the outside of the building cavity envelope. If you do all of that, you need an air changer. We talked about that in the last one. So that's important. Now, humidity control, air changers, temperature control, that's what we're working on, and it's all done. And today, we are going to have people come in and talk about the last thing. The last thing is the energy you need to heat and cool your house. They're talking about going with electric, and I think with today's stuff that we have some very good things. That your house could be all electric with a heat pump. In a far northern climates like this, it would behoove everyone to have a gas unit as a backup. In some places, gas is not available. It's not an option. So you either have to have oil as a backup or LP gas as a backup. And those are expensive. But we need to get the electric and do that. So we are going to talk about solar and solar panels. We are going to talk about marrying solar panel companies up with heating and cooling companies so that both of them can work together so that when they come into your house and it's all put together, that you have one package deal that's going to cost you almost nothing to heat and cool your house. So in the coming weeks, these people are coming on. We're going to have major discussions. We're going to give you ideas. We're going to give you phone numbers, and we're going to show you how this works. We have a solar company coming on that they'll put solar into your house and make this all work just the way it's supposed to work, and it's at no cost to you. That's right, you heard me, no cost to you. Couple that with a high efficiency heating and cooling system with all the bells and whistles. You're going to put out maybe, you're going to put out some money, but it's an investment, and if it's done correctly, it'll be the last investment you have to make in your home. You could probably get 50 to 60 years out of this stuff. The new solar panels, remember, they after 18 years of operation, they're still more than 75% efficient with the new ones. That's pretty damn good. So we've got some really good things coming up that we want to highlight, and new contractors. And here's something for all you contractors out there. This program, and we are looking for the small contractor, the little guy, the guy that spends his life trying to do a good quality job. No cost to you. Come on our podcast, sit with us, talk. We'll talk about the equipment you do, the types of services you do. We know that not everybody does all the same things. That's fine. We know that. You do what you're good at, and you make money at it. And you can do, and people want to know you. So if you are interested in coming on and being part of our podcast, drop us a line at dargefilms.com. That's right, dargefilms.com. And you can come on and be with us, and we'll talk about your company. We'll talk about the equipment you install and where you work and all of that good stuff. We know there's a lot of good companies out there. And there's the bad company. We don't care about that. We want our viewers to be able to have a line to the best of everything. And so we're getting closer to the end of this podcast here. And all of this stuff is starting to happen. I put out some feelers now because the COVID is over with, and we're getting into the springtime where some of these guys are not so busy from the heating season, and it's way before the cooling season here. So we're going to have some real interesting guests. We're going to do as many podcasts as we can, and then we'll spread them out, obviously, over time. But we're going to have some fun with this, and we got a lot of people that are very interested in coming on. And if you're interested in highlighting your company, and remember, we're not talking about gutter cleaning and floor painting and whatever. We're talking about HVAC, saving money and saving lives. So until the next time, which will be coming up shortly, we have this is one podcast. We're going to be doing another one here in a few minutes, and you'll see that one up too. We have many of them in the works. Stay tuned. Watch my channel on YouTube, Carl Darge, and you'll stay with this podcast, and we're going to have a lot of really good things, a lot of good information, and we're here to help you. Thanks again. This is Carl Darge from Geezers and Gurus, and remember, Darge did it.